Today's luncheon sponsors are our annual elite sponsors of Bayou Bend Health System, Intermore, Omega Waste Management, and Patterson State Bank. Please welcome the COO of Bayou Bend Health System, Mr. Bart Voss, to say a couple of words.
Thank you, Laura. And thanks to the Chamber for having us as usual. I feel like for about 2 years, myself or Stephanie has stood up here and talked about the Wellness Center coming, the Wellness Center coming, the Wellness Center coming. Well, I'm happy to report it's here, finally. So next week, I want this to serve as a formal invitation to all of you, both here in person and tuning in online. We will be kicking off Wellness Center festivities. We've got new member orientation happening on Wednesday and Thursday of next week for anyone who's already signed up. And on Friday, we're going to be having an open house to everyone in the public who wants to come and see the facility that you've been waiting so long to see. And we're going to have a ribbon cutting at 10 a.m. On Friday, and then members' first access is going to be on July the 8th, which is next Saturday. So you can come on in and try it out, and join the nearly 1,000 other members that we've already had sign up. So we're really excited about it, and we hope to see all of y'all there next week.
Thank you, Board. That's something very exciting for our parish. If you can get out, please go. And we'd like to thank all our elite sponsors. I would like to introduce the speakers for today. And as you know, there's Senator Brett Allen, State Representative Beryl Amade, and Vinnie St. Blanc. Please hold all your questions till everybody speaks. We're going to try, if time allows, and we're hoping it does, that's why we're starting a little early, for a Q&A afterwards. With that being said, in true Southern fashion, ladies first. Please welcome State Representative Beryl Amade.
Thank you, Nina. Good afternoon. Let's see if this will work. Okay. Is that working? Back row hears me? Good, good. Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here and to, of course, finally be out of Baton Rouge. There are rumors that we might be going back for certain other sessions, but we'll see. At this point in the year, I usually give an overview of the bills that passed and give you some statistics of all that we got done during session. But instead, because of the numerous phone calls I've gotten since we got out of session, I would prefer today to address an elephant in the room. Can we have a little heart-to-heart talk here? Ever since we got out of session, I've gotten calls from friends who tell me they're hearing some wild stories about what went on at the Capitol, and they want to know what really happened. Well, thank you for that trust. My St. Mary friends called especially focused on projects that were taken out of capital outlay at some point during the session. So that's what I'd like to go over. Two projects especially were to repair and resurface state roads in Morgan City. You've often heard me describe the budget process in this way. The governor presents the budget, the House fixes the budget, we send it over to the Senate, they mess it up, and then we argue until the last moments of session. That's how we normally do things, and that is how we did things this year too. Under dictates from the Senate President, leadership was pushing an ill-conceived plan to spend all we can, and that required breaking the constitutionally set expenditure limit. We were told stories and shown charts about above the line and below the line, and the truth is, whatever ends up above or below the line has much more to do with how you stack it than the reality of how much spending is going on. The Senate President filed the bill to bust the expenditure cap before session even began, so it was his plan all along. I want you to know that the projects that I was questioned about were funded when the budget bills left the House and without breaking the spending cap. A month later, the Senate President held the budget bills hostage. The ransom he demanded was that the House pass the bill to bust the spending cap before he would send the budget bills back to us. The House wanted to know what the Senate budget would fund with all the excess money before agreeing to raise the cap. We said, show us the budget bills first. His demand instead required that we sign a blank check. I don't know any man or woman in this room who thinks it's wise to go around signing blank checks. I have a fiduciary responsibility with the people's money. I couldn't reconcile that demand with the people of this district. I had seen 3 different versions of the budget that funded all the important things, including supplemental pay, teacher raises, and projects, without busting the spending cap. And also, those included measures to avoid the budget deficit that we'll now be facing in 2 years. The resolution to break the spending cap eventually did pass the House. I was one of the 19 House members that voted no. The road projects were still funded when the bills came back from the Senate. But there had been plenty of other changes made to all the budget bills on the Senate side, and so, as usual, all of the bills were sent to conference committees to iron out differences between the House and Senate versions. With the spending cap now broken and blank check in hand, the conference committees behaved like spoiled teenage girls at the mall with daddy's credit card, only worse. Behind closed doors, the good old boys worked in a spectacular frenzy that would have made Huey Long proud. They kicked common sense and responsibility out of the room, and they needlessly stripped crucial infrastructure projects from the budget because there was no funding? No. It was in an effort to punish the constituents who elected the 19 members, especially the female ones, who stood for doing right by the taxpayers. Then they replaced those projects with fluff, also known as pork. So while we have to continue to damage our vehicles driving on substandard roads a little while longer, we're supposed to be happy that certain college and high school bands will now be wearing new uniforms. It's clear that the mad grab at the money pot was not driven by a desire to provide for the needs of our communities. It was driven by self-interest, self-promotion, and self-aggrandizement. The conference reports that we were expected to vote on in the final minutes of session were such a complicated mess that no one had time to actually know what they were voting on. For example, the bill that lists all the infrastructure projects had a conference report that was 39 pages long and included 246 complex amendments. In the House, we had about 1 minute to view that report, and the bill was presented in 8 seconds before it was called for a vote, with no discussion and no questions allowed. This is where the Morgan City Road projects were removed, in this conference report. Our senator was a member of that conference committee, and he signed the report giving his approval. I voted against that report. So the closing hour of this year's session was terribly contentious because members were not allowed to know what we were voting on. Rules were broken, discussions and questions were prohibited, our valid concerns were borne out. On June 20th, 12 days after session ended, Senate Finance held a meeting to find out what was actually in the budget that we passed. In the 3-hour hearing, which you can view online, we learned a lot. We learned how it took staff 11 days to sort out all the amendments in the conference reports. Senators expressed their shock at what was added to or removed from the budget bills because they didn't know. Nancy Pelosi would have been proud. You can't make this stuff up. The way the budget bills were handled this year was despicable. I've called it a travesty. In the past 3 weeks, I've gotten phone calls from both House and Senate members who wish to remain anonymous, who regret their votes, who now wish they could have stood up against the manipulation and control tactics and voted with the 19. Some are suggesting holding a series of hearings to learn even more about what's in the budget or not. There's even talk about calling a special session to correct hasty errors. I'm also hearing that due to the spending frenzy, we've already exceeded our bonding limit. All of the shenanigans we experience in this year's session are just symptoms of a system that's broken. Just because this is the way we've been doing things for a long time doesn't mean it's the right way. Louisiana has problems. Crime is out of control. We have 3 of the top 5 deadliest cities in the country. Education still needs a lot of work. We've seen improvement in our 3rd graders' reading scores in the past couple of years. They went from only 30% being able to read at grade level to this spring 54%, and that's a bright spot. But at 54% reading at grade level, we still have work to do. We're finally showing some slowing some loss of our coast. With all the anti-erosion projects and hurricane and flood protection projects, property and livelihoods can now be better preserved. But now we have an insurance crisis causing out-migration. We are classified as a poor state. The number of Louisiana households in poverty is extreme. We're at the top of the list of states that are heavily dependent on the federal government. It doesn't have to be this way. Louisiana has a greater abundance of natural resources than probably any other state in the country. But Louisiana will remain in this race to the bottom as long as we keep doing things the same way we always have. We can't keep throwing away Louisiana. I came to the House to be part of the change, to bring an end to the Huey Long style of governing by threat and coercion, to put taxpayer money to work providing what the government is supposed to provide through wise, responsible, and transparent budgeting, and to get the government to butt out of our business. And that's what I intend to keep doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Amade. The next speaker is State Representative Vincent St. Blanc.
Good afternoon, and thank you for being here. It's always been an honor and privilege to stand up and tell you what I feel about I'm not a dreamer. I have goals, and what I've done. I said, I'm not a dreamer. I have goals. I set goals 4 years ago, and mostly all of them are accomplished, and I don't have time to really oh yeah, now this is bad. I'm used to grabbing this mic. I've been your representative for 4 years, and I always said that I don't dream about things at night. I set goals, and I've set goals for what I've done in the last 4 years, and I really would like to continue what I'm doing. So I'm telling you now that I am running the next 4 years for another term. And I appreciate everything you've done for me, because I've done everything I can for my district. I take a little time on what I have to do, but I have to do this today because I want to let you know that a company walked into this place today, and I'd like for Blake to stand up. He's from InLink Midstream Pipeline. He is doing the sales, the manager of the pipeline company. He flew in from Dallas. He's doing a carbon capture procedure I met last year, that his pipeline that was already here, that goes into Centerville, we turn into carbon capture. And I got with him, and he's going to put the compressor station down in my district, and they've been working on it, and he's wanting to be a part of this community. And it's amazing that today that he came and flew in from Dallas just to come to this meeting. And it's huge. $225 million project that's coming through St. Mary, 90% of it, and we're going to bore under the East Court Blanche Bay and go. It's a joint company with ExxonMobil. So Blake, thank you. Meeting, please, anybody, your mayors and everything, meeting, because me and him are going to be coming around in end of July, and we're going to meet with every mayor and with everybody, every shrimp and everything. So I'll take that time. That's what I'm about, is bringing. Thank you, Blake, for coming, showing up. The last session, I have a different perspective than Representative Burl. I thought we had the best. I've been there a long time and messed with plenty of budgets and been on the 4th floor in the governor's office and learned exactly with my experience that the process takes time, and it does it. Process takes time, and it does, and what I thought was best for my district, that's what I did. And I think we have one of the best budgets that we had in a long time. And I'll let the man, Senator Allam, tell him exactly how it's done and everything, because he was the main guy and doing, and he'll let you know what we did for St. Mary Parish in my district. But I'm going to take my time because I have a friend here that I've been working with for the last 25 years since the day he got on the mineral board, and with Governor Foster. He's been a friend of my family for a long time. And I want to let you know what this man done. It's a procedure that the Senate has, that they go and they take your last term, they give you a chance to say your farewell, goodbyes and stuff. But I just wanted to know, you can't imagine sitting in this thing until you have this job, what it takes. And I want y'all to let you know what, I have 4 pages of what the Senate's have in a resolution. But I want to highlight a little things, what time it takes and for what your family, because he's such a good friend. I want people to know what this man has done. Whereas Senator Allaire is a proud member of the Coastal Conservation Amendment of Louisiana. I got to put on my glasses. Yes. And was chosen as legislature champion and inducted into the CC, that's the Coastal Restoration Fund, Louisiana Hall of Fame in 2023. Whereas Senator Allaire has guided us in strong faith and active member of the St. John Evangelist Catholic Church in Jeanerette. Whereas Senator Allaire began his public service in 1999 when he accepted an appointment by Governor Mike Foster to the Mineral Board, followed by appointments of the Louisiana Agriculture Finance Authority, serving as vice chairman and the I-49 South Feasibility and Funding Task Force. Whereas the voters of Senate 23 placed his trust in Senator Allaire in 2012, he was re-elected without opposition on 2 successful terms in 2015 and 2019. Whereas this tenure he serves a great diligence in the Senate Committee on Revenue and Fiscal Affairs, serving as chairman. Senate Committee on Finance, serving as vice chairman. Senate Committee on Agriculture, Forestry, Aquaculture, Rural Development, serving as vice chairman. Senate Select Committee on Coastal Restoration, Flood Control, serving as champion. Senate Committee on Natural Resources, Senate Committee on Health and Welfare, Senate Committee on Governmental Affairs, Senate Committee on Commerce, Consumer Protection, and International Affairs, Joint Legislature Committee on Capital Outlay, Joint Legislature Committee on Budget, and State Bond Commission. Whereas his lifelong experience of farmer and businessman has fueled his tenure in legislature, his colleagues rallying on him, an authority on all agricultural policy issues affecting the state. Whereas an avid outdoors fisherman, Senator Allaire has been an inevitable advocate of policies affecting coastal Louisiana, working tirelessly to secure funding to protect and restore our coastal wetlands, an authority notable legislation on all field site restoration and management of orphan oil and gas wells. Whereas as chairman of the Senate Committee on Revenue and Fiscal Affairs, Senator Allaire has spearheaded monumental tax reforms, virtually growing Louisiana's economy, including eliminating of federal income and deduction and using of saving a lower individual. Whereas in his work and to simplify Louisiana's tax code for citizens and business in a revenue-neutral manner, providing stability to the revenue protection and profitability in the companies looking to do more investments in Louisiana. How much time I got left? 2 minutes. I got 3 more pages, but I'm gonna tell you, you can't imagine the amount of hours. Now I'm not even finished because of with his tax stuff. The amount of hours that this man and what it takes away from your family. I can tell you, I'm blessed that I'm the age I'm in. That is just me and my wife at home, and she knows what I've been doing for a long time. That I give time to it. But there's one thing I have to say that you won't read on this and stuff. But 1 year ago, we were faced with solar and wind, and offering well and stuff that we, with my experience and what I knew about, and especially Senator Haller, went to the speaker and told him that these hedge funds were going, that MISO was going to have 125 sites in Louisiana, and that they were going to come, and we sure didn't want them to go away because we are open for business in Louisiana. But we put a hold on it with the speaker, put a hold on solar and wind for 1 year, because we knew, because we had already been working, my family had been working with them for at least 5 years now with solar and wind companies. But their contracts, they were just hedge funds coming down, throwing a lot of money into these solar farms, and parishes were getting these big taxes, and the state of Louisiana was coming in. But the contracts was not good for landowners and the state of Louisiana. So we got together, formed a task force, and Brett and I, we formed the task force with the speaker, and we studied it. And there was a lot of things that people were going to get, especially the state of Louisiana, and we protected them. Now we have laws now, we're ready to go, and now that we had the laws, we were the last ones to come into solar and wind, because it's really something that you really have to think about, because we have mixed feelings on it. But we can't stop a landowner from having using his land and stuff for if he can make money. And the thing about it is, but we wanted to protect them on these land rights, that they wasn't going to put all these solar farms and everything and then walk away in 3 years when they get their mitigation, because that's all it's about, tax credits and mitigation. That's where the money is. So Brett put in, because of his natural resources of being on the board and everything, and he knew what offering the wells, well, he put a bill in that protects the state of Louisiana from them leaving things on the ground and stuff, and it's really great. So we are open for it, and I'm very proud of what we did that nobody even knows about. But now we're protecting everybody in the state of Louisiana. So solar farms and wind farms will come and we'll do it. And now that we put these laws in 2 weeks ago, I don't know, I had to talk to Senator Haller about it, but they put a hold on all 125. MISO put a hold on it, so we know. And you're talking about it's going to take time. Senator Haller ran his bill that you had 10 years. Well, a solar farm couldn't even begin in that, so we let them off with an amendment that it can take longer than 10 years. So I really like to thank y'all. I'm running again. I see everybody in here, I'm very familiar. All you got to do is call me, and I'll take care of it. A lot of people I see in here call me. Give me at least an hour before the bill is on the floor, because I can change things, but it's pretty hard, because I know the count before we even get there. So when y'all call, I can tell you whether we got a chance, but you got to give me at least 4 hours, okay? So I appreciate everything y'all ever done. My goal is to make sure that our cities and everything have their, I'm a businessman, and I just want to let you know that I know what it takes with mayors. I had the experience of being a mayor for a while. And I know in business that you got to have water and sewage. And that's all exactly what I put everything into, water sector. All my capital outlay goes into things that's going to make you better. Because when we do have budgets, maybe deficits, and we do have, we're going to cut taxes and stuff, that you'll be ready, because you'll have the only thing that what you'll have to make money with. And you can make money with a good water and system and a good sewer system. So thank y'all, and all you got to do is, look, I want to thank my assistant, Sheila. I'm sorry I put you through so much work. It never stops for us, and we have a 365-day, 24-hour-a-day. Her phone's on and mine, and everything goes to us, and we see things on social media at night, and we take care of it. And thank you, Tiger, for being so good to me with that and helping me with that. But if you got a problem, give me a call. I may not be able to solve it, but I'll put you at the table with the people that's giving you the problem. So thank you very much, and I'll be glad to be on with you.
Thank you.
Everything right.
No, sit down.
Yes, ma'am.
Before I introduce our next speaker, who happens to be my boss, I personally would like to take a moment to say a few words. We all know Senator Allen, Brett to many of you in this room. Now let me tell you a few things you may not know about him. He starts his day very early. After all, he's a farmer. But long before he starts his farming day, he starts his legislative day. He can email at 2 or 3 a.m. in the morning. That is not uncommon. Texting starts shortly thereafter, if necessary. Calls start about 6:30 or 7-ish, thank you, Lord, depending on what's going on. There are no days off. Workaholic can describe him at times. He works through everything. If I think my phone is attached to me at my hip, he needs to permanently implant his. That's truth there. The other day, I saw a quote that said, "One of the hardest decisions you will ever have to face in life is choosing whether to walk away or try harder." This couldn't be more true for politics. He works the issue or problem until he is satisfied or there is no hope. I can say with knowledge, he gives his last measure of effort to see that good is accomplished. This job is not for the faint of heart. Public pressure, advocacy pressure, lobbyist pressure, and the need to produce is immense. A good senator acknowledges this. A great senator embraces it and works the issues. Let me remind you which one you've had the past 12 years. A great one. And we all know him as Senator Brett Allen. Want to hold it?
I'm gonna try not to. I'm very humbled. This will probably be the last time that I address you. And listen, I couldn't have done it without two people in my life. Laura Meadows being the one, my work wife, if you will, and my real wife have gotten me through this to things that have allowed me to be, I guess, the workaholic she calls me that I am. But there was, when I took this job, I knew there were so many challenges and so many things to do, and we've had some successes, we've had some failures. I think we've moved the needle on tax reform. When I took the job 4 years ago to be chairman of Revenue and Fiscal Affairs, I knew the two jobs that we really had to go after was tax reform. There's still a lot left to be done. You know, we've lowered the personal income tax rate. We've made the process simpler, and the bill this year, which the governor hadn't signed yet, so I don't know what he's going to do, will completely eliminate franchise tax, which is absolutely the worst tax that this state levies. If you want to disincentivize people from investing in the state of Louisiana, tax the capital that they invest. That's what franchise tax does. So hopefully we'll get that one done. The other part of my job was the capital outlay process and setting the priorities of the state. For 3/4 of my career, we had no money, absolutely no money extra in capital outlay. There were needs that went unmet. You're talking about deferred maintenance at higher ed, $1.8 billion worth of deferred maintenance at all our universities and community technical college systems. You're talking about probably close to $1 trillion backlogs for the roads and bridges in this state. And 3 years ago, when we first started receiving money, I advocated for getting as much of it spent on the true needs of this state that I could. Now, I'm sorry if Beryl disagrees with upping the expenditure limit. That was a limit set a long time ago. But let me tell you, the money that we had was money in the bank. It wasn't borrowed money. It was money in the bank. It's called surplus from the previous year or excess from the current year. And I was going to advocate for as much of that money being spent in our districts for the needs of the people of this state as I possibly could, whether it meant raising the expenditure limit or not. Now, it was ugly. I'm not going to lie to you. But all the projects she talked about were in that bill when it left. And I signed that, conference report, I did, with 21 minutes left in the session. And if we go without a capital outlay bill, then you have to come back in a special session, and it requires a 3/4 vote, which gives a whole lot of people power in that thing. It gives the every small group that can come together the power to be in there. I didn't know exactly what was cut out the bill, but I damn sure knew what was in the bill. And I fought for it, and we fought hard for it, because this area has never gotten this amount of money invested here ever. And it was our time to do it. It was our time for the universities, and I damn sure was going to advocate to get that done. Now, let me tell you what some people call pork. We put an additional $50 million toward Highway 90, improving the ride, not overpasses, improving the ride from Lafayette through Amelia to get to LA1. $50 million that we put in the bill. $10 million in just $10 million in cash alone, and $40 million that'll be coming in over the years. That's going to be matched with the federal money, which means we'll be investing $50 million a year in Highway 90 between state match and federal monies over the next 5 years for a total of $250 million. We'll finally, they talk about the bridge in Baton Rouge. Yeah, they need the bridge in Baton Rouge, but one way to take the pressure off of Baton Rouge is when you're coming out of Houston and you get to Lafayette, turn right and come through here and go to New Orleans, because 40% of the traffic's just going through Baton Rouge to go to New Orleans. We take a lot of pressure off. That's why I advocated and fought for the Highway 90 money. And also the connector in Lafayette. Going over some of the DOTD projects that did remain in the bill. A roundabout at 3211 in the district. The Highway 90 I already talked about. Investments in our ports. Morgan City, the Port of Morgan City, $11 billion, all in cash, invested in the port to bring more people here to work in this area. Between the dock expansion and the warehouse improvements. Port of West St. Mary, trailing $2 billion to build sugar warehouses at the Port of West St. Mary. All economic development, all things that's going to bring jobs here. In St. Mary Parish alone, replace the roof at the Fairview Treatment Center, which is right there in Bayou Vista. Infrastructure improvements at the Kemper Williams Park, $266,000. These are all cash projects. This is what she calls pork. Walking bike paths in Amelia. Energy power facility improvements at Office of Homeland Security, $235,000. Energy improvements to the parish courthouse, $250,000. A new fire station in St. Mary Parish, $1 million. Emergency power system for multiple all-electric drainage pump stations in Amelia community, $400,000. Baldwin, we've got the basketball court that those people asked for, to give the youth something to do and get them off the streets. Water systems and improvements, $1 million. Wastewater improvements, $700,000. Berwick, the meters, water meter replacements, $585,000. All things that they've been waiting for a long time. Franklin finished the renovations to the old Crowd building. Casey Street improvements, $2.3 million. Water treatment facility, $2.4 million. Patterson, replacement of the water meters, $451,000. Water plant improvements, because they were under orders to clean that up over there, $5 million in cash. Mayor Grogan, you're welcome. Rehabilitation of 9 sewer lift stations, $2.39 million. Let's see. Continuing on the pork, things that I felt very strongly about and got money in the Bill 570, which is the supplemental appropriations. Council on Aging, $250,000 to match the $250,000 we got the year before. This is to take care of our seniors and to feed them and to house them and get them around and bring them to behavioral health services. Payable out to St. General Funds to Tesh Action Clinic, $500,000, that addresses the needs of the indigent in our area. Shea Hope Crisis Center, repairs and improvements to that building, $280,000. Franklin Beautification Committee, $50,000. State General Funds, Franklin Roundabout, $250,000 to get that done. Let's see. The Ark of St. Mary, $250,000 for them to finally get some help over there. That's on top of what we've given them before, and that was just in this year's bill. I'm not ashamed of what we did. I'm damn proud of what we did. I want to let you know it's been an honor and a privilege to serve you, to fight for you, to do everything that we've done. I wish I could have done more. I did everything that I could. I worked all the hours that was humanly possible, and I'm proud of what we've accomplished. So thank you for giving me the honor and the privilege of serving you. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Allen. And the reason why I started early. Yes.
I'd like to just mention something. Rick was talking about things done currently. What about the $80 million we got for the value chain structure out there? What about the EOC? What was that? This man's done a lot the last 12 years, what he called it the St. Mary Parish. Hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars that's come into this community. Well, that man's sitting right there.
Matt, you couldn't have said it any better, and I will add to that as of before this session started, we have brought home, and I say we, but it's him, over $800 million to SD 21.
Thank you.
And we've worked hard for that, and he has worked hard for that. So I want y'all to recognize what this man has done, because it's rare. It's rare.
Madam Chairman, we hear about all the flu stuff, I call it. Okay? This was a man for the people, because he came through to help the people that can't help themselves. And from that, from the bottom of my heart, sir, you are now an honorary member of the Council on Aging. I have been able to feed 150 more people and deliver them to their doctor's appointment that I would have had tonight if I hadn't had that extra money, because I didn't get it anywhere else, but I got it from you. And my heart goes out to you. I'm going to miss you, but I'm still going to call you because you are going to miss me.
I've never been prouder than look, and compared to the rest of it, it was a small amount of money, but it was a big money to you. I've never been proud. When I first called her last year and said, I got you 250, that was the money I got you last year. On top of that, I gave you another 250 this year. When I called her last year and told her that she'd be able to buy the vans and increase the amount of people she served, she started crying. I started crying too. So thank you. Listen, it's easy to advocate for people like you that lead the charge and really have done so much for this community. Thank you.
And now we'll open it up to if anybody has any questions for any of these three.
Would it be best for you guys if I walk to whoever has a question?
So if you have anything, let Beth know.
Talk loud enough. So this is for everybody, but it's for you too. This is mainly for you, Barrow. So Morgan City doesn't really get anything out of capital outlay, right? I think the last time we got something substantial out of capital outlay was what, the cabins? Really? To be honest with you? What was that, like 2 mayors ago? So we worked, my administration and myself worked for 2 years to make sure that we get the roads fixed that are destroyed because the bridge ain't right going towards Amelia, and they run through Morgan City, and they go through, they take 70 and take 182, and also our infrastructure of our sewer is in deplorable shape. So I talked to 5 or 6 people that were supposed to be the leaders of the pack. That happened, and I agree with you. They acted like a bunch of 10-year-olds and junior high girls trying to make somebody look bad, no doubt, to pass down judgment. But before that happened, you know, in business, there's a lot of business people in here and government people. Sometimes we don't sometimes it don't go our way. And sometimes we have to do things in a way that we don't really agree with, but it's not totally wrong. So sometimes we just have to suck it up and do it because that's what is better for our employees. That's what is better for our company. That's what is better for our cities. That's what is better for everybody in the area. But you refused to do that, even after you knew you didn't have the votes. And you knew that they were going to rain down hell on you and rain it down on us and take all the money away. Because, by the way, the money stopped at Morgan City, right? From Berwick all the way across, still in this district. In the village district, they got everything. But we got nothing. But we pay all the taxes around here. We pay everything. We get nothing because you were trying to prove a point. That is not exactly how leadership is supposed to work. Leadership is supposed to work for the people, not for your personal ideology, right? And the federal government is broken, the state government is broken, everything is broken, right? So what I'm trying to figure out is why you didn't save it for when you get another governor and maybe you can push it. Why did we have to lose $15 million in Morgan City? That's my issue. Because we've never seen that kind of money in my lifetime for sure. So I would really like to know why you pushed it that far if you even knew you were not going to make it with the votes.
The votes that I make are made with all these things in mind. Whenever I make a vote on budget bills, I'm considering what is the right thing to do with taxpayer dollars. Taxpayer money is sacred because every penny of it, somebody had to work and sweat for it. And when I vote responsibly. What I'm saying is the vote on whether or not to bust the expenditure limit was where I voted no. I was one of 19 people who voted no. The reason for that vote is because I had already seen budget proposals that were able to fund all the things we're talking about without busting the expenditure limit. Those proposals were rejected by leadership. They didn't move forward. it doesn't change the fact that that's the responsible thing to do with taxpayer dollars. Remember, the budgets I was looking at funded all the things we're talking about. The bill to break the expenditure cap did pass, so now they had even more money than what was needed to fund the important things. The fact that those projects we're talking about were removed from the budget bills, they were removed after the fact. I don't sit on the committee that removes them. That was not my doing. I was not asked. I was not consulted. I was not even offered anything in return. I was threatened. I was cursed at. That doesn't make me change my vote. My vote is based on what I'm seeing as the most responsible thing we can do with taxpayer money. And as the senator spoke and he listed certain projects that did get funding, those are great. That's not the fluff that I was talking about. The fluff that I was talking about were things like extra money to the American Rose Society. So this is why I'm aggravated that these projects got removed, and they got removed only in retaliation. That's the wrong way to do government. We don't govern with retaliation for things that we take personal offense about. That's the way that dictatorships might function. That's the way that, corruption runs rampant whenever we focus on manipulating and controlling votes based on threats like that. So those are the reasons for my vote. It's to do what's right by the taxpayers. It's based on the information that's set before me, which were budget proposals that showed we didn't have to break the expenditure cap. We vote every day, all day long. People are sitting there voting based on what they believe is the best for their districts that they represent. The fact that sometimes leadership decides to go nuts and retaliate against people for personal reasons should not come into play. It's just not how we do government. I celebrate the funding that was available to the area. The port in Morgan City got funding. But I'm still disappointed because it could have been better. It could have been better if those projects that were removed for personal vendetta reasons had not been removed. I'm disappointed that those who are always claiming that they're in leadership and they control all of this, when something goes wrong like that, I get the blame. I got the phone calls fussing at me for having the projects removed. I had no part in having the projects removed. I don't regret my votes. I do regret that the funding is not there for those crucial projects that are infrastructure when things like the American Rose Society and high school band uniforms are not. I am pleased that money did go to things like roads, bridges, drainage, sewage, buildings. Those are things that are infrastructure. But I'm furious that certain projects that are also infrastructure and are greatly needed did not get funded. And that's what I do expect to change under new leadership. Thank you for your question.
No. To be clear, me and Beryl didn't have a crossword. I never cursed at her. I never said anything. I didn't do that. And I did not remove those projects. That was House leadership that passed those down. And I can show you the email times that I got. We signed it out at 6 o'clock. We had to pass a budget. I got one version without the cuts in it at 2:45. I got the final version with the cuts in it an hour and 15 minutes before we had to adjourn. 500 amendments. There was no way we were going to find all the cuts in there. I knew what was in it. I knew the good things that were in it. I made a decision. But, I mean, it was the House that handed her the punishment. It was not the Senate, so don't blame the Senate.
Thank you, sir.
So, Brett, so after being furious myself as the mayor of Morgan City, because as we talked for 2 years and talked with Mayor Grogan and talked with when Frank was mayor and Ball was mayor, and said, hey, nobody left behind. Everybody gets something, right? Out of the because we never get anything, right? For 2 years we worked on this, right?
I agree.
To make sure. And all these taxes were paid. It was the 0.45 sales tax that made it the surplus, right? So the city of Morgan City paid it. I
agree.
I asked Barrow right before that, don't do this. It's gonna come down. After this was all over with, I talked to 5 of the 6 people in the room that were the leadership, right? Every one of them admitted to exactly what she said, exactly what you said, right? They admitted to it. They don't, no remorse, right? This is the way it is. So if you know that this is the way it is, my point is, if you know that this is the way it has been forever, why would we try to change it in 1 year and hurt our district, right? When the only year we're going to get this kind of money, right? My point here is the taxpayers of I'm here to protect Morgan City, right? The taxpayers of Morgan City pay an exorbitant amount of tax because it's the largest city here, all right? And we pay a tremendous amount of this 0.45% and the percentage of the road royalty tax that's supposed to fix the roads that we never get fixed, right? I'm just really aggravated, and the people of Morgan City are aggravated now because we plan on having these projects to be done, and now they're not done because of indebtedness, right? And I know it's not you, all right? And I know it's not Barrow, it's because of what you did before in the vote, but it's really hard for me to understand this because at Benny's line, they didn't cut anything all the way back to the other end of the parish. Only at your line is where they cut it. We just happen to be the ones that get cut. You know, so, you know, politics is a game, right? Basically, you gotta know how to play the game, give and take, right? I'm figuring that out myself. To me, it seems like certain people can't play the game. And I'll be honest with you, we need people that can play the game. Because we got really hurt really bad this year, and we shouldn't have been. You know, and I like to know what you think about that, but I mean, it's cut and dry.
Yeah. The good news is we did put $50 million in the water sector. I think the sewer request that you had, maybe not the whole $5 million, but a good portion of it, I think will probably get funded in the water sector. I talked to the 2 co-chairmen of that yesterday, so at least I think we'll be able to protect that. I was actually with the governor yesterday, him telling me what he was going to veto out of the HB2 and what he wasn't. So there's nothing that's in there that I just read is 100% guaranteed, but I don't think he's going to cut any of our stuff. I did make a plea to him to give us the design money for your 2 roads. I think that may happen, and which would mean only a year delay in that. But listen, I've been fighting for Morgan City. The bridge that just got painted and the other one that's getting repaired and painted, that was, you know, part of our efforts that we moved along. We did get $11 million for your port that's going to benefit your city. So I'll keep fighting until somebody replaces me. But the good news is we're trying to get some of it back.
I just wanted to respond to the comment about not playing the game well. Sometimes the game is the problem. Whenever we bow down and compromise in ways that are not right, then the game just continues. And I wasn't elected to go to Baton Rouge to play games. This is serious business. I represent people. I'm not going to go to Baton Rouge and play. I'm going to go to Baton Rouge and work and fight. That's what I do. I don't play.
You know, I don't know what to say about play or games, but let me tell you what I had to do. Capital outlay started 4 years ago for me, and I know exactly what each thing. I met with every mayor, every port director, and we had goals since I started. And it's not a game, it's a process. And I have the ability and the knowledge to do the process. And I care about my district. I got a lot of money. Brett, before we even get there, how many hours, Brett, that we talk? How many times I've been in your office? In the last 3 weeks of the session, I met with him every morning and met with leadership every night, watching what was going to take or take out of my, depending on how I was going to vote. And you can ask right now, Mayor Grogan, Mayor Duval, Baldwin Mayor Vappy, didn't we start last week of knowing what your capital outlay is going to be? So it takes time. I know what I'm doing. It's not a game for me. It's not playing politics. It's a process that you have to know. And I'm proud of what I've done. And I care about the state of Louisiana. And I care about the education and the potholes. My district got one of the best roads anywhere. We got bridges. I'm working on it. Education. I done sat down with the new superintendent last week and told him my goals. I'm fixing it. Water and sewer make everything. And I told you when I talked that if we don't have water and sewer, we can never ask our mayors. They're not going to have to worry about capital outlay. We put in things this budget that's going to take care of everything. But I'm not there for games and play and everything. It might be a different thing for you, Representative Amadi, but I know what I'm doing. And I'm going to be there with my mayors, and I'm going to be with their things. And I'm going to make my district whatever it takes on my vote. I've lost a lot of things. I made hard votes. But everything that I made that vote on proved that I can have some things. I have better education. I have better things for the elderly. Everything that we got there, I've spent hours with. Never questioned him. I went to him and said, I'd like to do elder, I'd like to take care of his value. Everything that we talked about, he was in favor of. Never took a dime from me, and I never asked him to take a dime from him. We've worked together, and that's what it means. And I want to tell you, I see a different process up there. I was with Governor Kathleen Blanco when we had an excess. And I said, when breaking the cap, we broke it and everything. And I said, we made a mistake. And I told that to Brett Guyman when he started this. And I said, you know, we got to do something about, and then when me and Alain sat together and everything, and what we did with the budget, the cap wasn't that much to break. You know, it all sounds good and stuff, but when you really look at it, I feel good about what I done and the vote I took. So I work hard, and I tell you what, every person in here means something to me, and I will work twice as hard now. I already started on capital outlay. I already know, you know, what I got to do. Brad has taught me. I've been there for a long time, and this is just my first year, but I understand. I understand the process. You can talk about Huey Long, you can talk about everything, but the process stays the same as how you got to do it. And we have done a lot of things that happened before, all that commotion and all that stuff. It happened before, but we got a better grip on it. We got better things. We got a people problem in Louisiana. That's the thing. That's the only thing. You know, Republican, Democrat, and everything. And we have a people problem. One day you come to my office and I'll tell you about it. Community and technical colleges. Tammy knows the problem. She sits right there. We got 40% of our workforce that's living off of $42,500 a year through welfare and everything. We got to move them to 65. That's why we put so much money into things, because that's our problem. I'm sorry. Thank y'all.
Okay, guys. Well, we've certainly heard a lot today, and I just want to thank you for joining us, and thank each one of y'all for providing the updates. Special thanks again to our elite sponsors, Bayou Bend Health System, Omega Waste Management, Intermore, Patterson State Bank, sponsoring our 2023 luncheons. Please keep up with us on Facebook and check our website. Remember, we do have a breakfast with Dr. Cephalou to talk about the ad valorem tax coming up. We also have a luncheon with Evan Boudreau, our Economic Development Director, coming up toward the end of the month. We appreciate each and every one of y'all sponsorship and just coming out and doing what you can for the chamber, because we do everything that we can for you. Again, thank you to our speakers, and that's it, guys.